Great joke.
I wasn't paying attention.
No, I thought it too.
No.
You sure?
All I heard was penis.
Of course.
Of course, that's all you pick up. That's all you pick up.
Perv alert.
Welcome to this week's episode of the 3-Point Play. This week's sports focus, NFL safety. We've seen a lot of turnaround in the past few years, especially with the concussion movie last year, about the NFL trying to become a safer league for players. And we've seen a lot of turnaround in rule changes, things like that, and we're going to talk about it. To the left of me, I always have the amazing Aaron, and to the right, the legendary Jordan. Guys, NFL safety. It's been a hot topic over the past few years. How do you feel about it?
I think it's hurting the leagues up.
Really?
Yeah, because with all these rule changes, how you can't touch the quarterback or you can't touch the kicker, and you have to tackle a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
You're basically telling the defenders don't do your job and don't play defense.
Yeah, I mean, points have been up for sure.
Like the only way they want them to play defense is just to get an interception or just let the guy run out.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely taking a toll even on the players. For a lot of these people played for 20 to 30 years the sport, and all of a sudden these rule changes are completely changing the game for them, and it's hard to adapt. Jordan, how do you think about this when you think of NFL safety?
Well, Aaron might be right. The main main fact that the NFL is around is for the fans, and you don't want to have people getting injured all the time. It's there for entertainment.
Right.
It's for the fans.
Yeah, I mean,
so
if you lose some of these superstars that we see go down, Gronk is huge. I mean, he's on the Madden cover this year, but he's been injured a few times, and having such a violent game, you can lose some of your superstars, and that definitely affects your fans. Well, I mean, let's go into some of the actual rule changes and just talk about them a bit. So, 30-yard kickoff line. Jordan, want to explain that for the folks at home?
Well, it used to be that you kick off from the 20-yard line, and since last year, they changed it to 30-yard kickoff line. And that just causes more touchbacks and less kick returns, and that makes more people healthy.
Now, 30 to 20, why is that such a big deal, Aaron?
I think because it allows them to have more freedom to run.
Okay.
So they don't get all clogged up against each other, so they don't run into their own players.
It becomes a mosh pit for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, it gives so more space we're seeing.
Precisely.
Okay, I mean that's a one step in the right direction, I would say. I mean, kickoffs happen how many times a quarter? I mean, it happens often.
Very frequent.
Very frequent, and a way to fix that. Okay, and then roughing the passer. You want to take that one, Aaron?
I mean, I understand it because it's unsportsmanlike just to rough the passer after he throws the ball and it's not in his possession anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes a lot of sense as well for the kicker because I get it because the momentum is carrying them, so it's hard for them to stop them once the ball's out of the quarterback or kicker's possession.
200-300-pound guys going, how are you supposed to stop that?
Exactly.
All right, so the idea is to prevent them from hitting the quarterback or the kicker prior to or after they have thrown it or kicked it. Is that how it works?
Yes.
Okay. Also a step, but Jordan, you're someone who's saying that safer NFL is a better NFL, but don't you think that affects the way defenses play then if they're not able to just attack the quarterback the way they're used to?
Right, but the quarterbacks are just weaklings, and you got to protect the quarterbacks because, listen, if I'm let's say a Patriots fan, I'm spending $150 on a football seat.
Sure.
I came to watch Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I want to see him. I don't want to see the third string quarterback.
I don't even know who he is.
No one knows. That's why I want to see my Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Just for example.
Okay, yeah. So going back to that point that superstars really are the focal point, and we don't want to lose them.
You're not going to see him for the first 4 games, though.
Hey, I don't worry about Rob Lowe. He is a workhorse. And heck, man, if they ever stop casting you in sitcoms, just look on the bright side. You tried to take the air out of my retirement announcement so fast, you can probably get a job as Tom Brady's ball boy.
That's another story in itself. Yeah, but okay, so again, I would say it makes sense, but definitely something to really look out for because as these new players come in through the draft, they're going to start adapting to this scenario in which they're not able to attack the quarterback that's like the way they're used to, which is definitely affecting them just having the IQ to hit him as fast as possible to get the sack, and you're not able to do so. It's definitely challenging. All right, Next, this is a pretty easy one in my book, honestly. They shouldn't be doing this. Regardless of rule changes, this shouldn't have happened to begin with, but with all CTE and all the concussion stories coming out, helmet-to-helmet contact. Jordan, want to take this one as well?
Well,
reducing that?
There are situations where it's allowed. For example, I believe if the offensive player tucks his head down,
okay,
then I guess it would be. I'm pretty sure it would be allowed.
So it's allowed to match whatever the offensive player does.
So sort of in a way, but overall, you can't be having to purposely hit him helmet to helmet.
Yeah.
Because you just cause concussions, and then those players will be out for who knows how long.
I mean, just like thinking about it, why would someone who is the defensive, why would you want to hit with your head? Like, you have all the padding for other places. Doesn't seem like a smart move.
No, it doesn't. But in the game, they think I'm trying to win, so I'm going to hurt the opposing player, which isn't right, but that's how they think sometimes.
Okay. So, but you think the head-to-head reducing that, is that really going to affect the longevity of NFL? Or do you think that safety rule is that big of a deal?
That safety rule is big deal because, the whole concussion, protocol thing.
Okay.
So they're trying to avoid that as much as possible with this rough sport. So they're trying to make sure they don't do anything dirty with the head-to-head.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Next is another one that I think is a pretty easy one that shouldn't be an issue. We see it in baseball all the time. Disqualifying players who are penalized twice in a game for unsportsmanlike conduct. I mean, we don't want to see brawls going out on the field, so
no.
Why is that happening here?
Well, I mean, there's definitely bad blood on the field.
Odell isn't really helping.
No, neither is Josh Norman.
Yeah, both of them.
I mean, they both have a lot of heat against one another.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, I get it for like certain moments, but then there's an extent on how far it should go.
Well, what are some of the unsportsmanlike conducts you've seen?
Odell randomly trucked into Josh Norman last year for no reason. Even the ball was dead, and then all of a sudden you see Odell fly out of nowhere.
And he's an offensive player.
Exactly.
What does that have to do with it?
It was ridiculous.
Okay, so I mean, what is lacking in the NFL right now, Jordan, that causes these unsportsmanlike? Do you think it's a lack of leadership? Is this something the organization should be doing, or is this something in the locker room?
I'm not sure what the question is.
Oh, okay. Unsportsmanlike conduct that's happening on the field. Do you think that's something that needs to be taken care of in the locker room, or is that something that Roger Goodell or the owners should be focusing on?
Oh no, Roger Goodell for sure.
Really?
But overall, I don't really like the rule because in football you have your blood's hot, you're running. They just tell you to act like a maniac when you're a defender.
You're right.
They're pumping you up all the time. So I can understand if they get a little emotional sometimes and they just want to hit the other guy.
Okay.
And get into brawls.
Well, what about something like Odell, who apparently is an offensive guy, and he went after Josh Norman?
I saw that play. He just got very mad and went after him.
Okay, but something like that shouldn't be happening.
But it shouldn't. But you should definitely get a penalty. But you shouldn't get kicked out of the game after two of them.
After two of them, is two common, Aaron? Is that something?
I think it's not as common, but it shouldn't become common.
Sure.
Because then it's just going to lead to negative, attention towards the NFL, and that's not what Roger Goodell wants. But also to touch base on the question that you asked Jordan, I think both the owner and the captain of the team should tell the players how to act. Okay. Granted, the player should know on his own, but I think he needs that sort of leadership,
that
whether
guidance?
it's the coach or the owner or even the captain of the team.
Okay.
They should tell him in the locker room how to act a certain way.
All right.
Granted, there's definitely tension on the gridiron, but you have to, calm yourself and, make sure you're mature enough on the field.
Keep in check.
That's the problem. They can't remain calm when you're playing such a heavily contact sport.
Yeah, but they have to have in the back of their mind, I can't ruin my reputation nor my team's reputation.
It's very, very hard to do.
It is, but they're professionals, and that's what we expect from them, right?
Right.
It's part of the contract.
It's part of the contract. Okay, so, I mean, that seems pretty reasonable. So overall, the NFL is becoming safer, but some of these things will change the way the game is played for sure. I think the roughing the passer ones, or roughing the quarterback is actually a very interesting portion.
You have to save the quarterback. He's the team.
Yeah, but at the same time, those defensive guys, they've been working their whole lives to be able to do this, and taking that away is a huge part of the game.
Exactly.
Well, then the final thing, which I think is a kind of funny thing that the NFL still kind of is very hard on, is lack of use of marijuana. Even in states in which it's allowed, I think it's like 20 plus now where you're allowed to. I don't see why the Broncos can't go out. I would have suggested during the season, but I don't see why the Broncos players can't go out and just smoke a joint.
I feel like Roger Goodell looks at it as a very immature aspect of how the players act when it comes to it, because it doesn't look professional on their standpoint, but it actually helps the players out a lot with like the concussions and the other injuries that they have throughout the course of the season.
Yeah,
it allows their body to recuperate and.
It's definitely a recovery tool. I mean, Jordan, what do you think about this marijuana? I mean, it's something that's been hush about for like the last 20, 30 years. But at this point, it's whatever. People smoke. It's fine.
Well, I don't think it's fair for the entire league to be able to. Well, if 20 teams can do it and 10 can't, it's not really fair.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't think the commissioner should have that power to decide whether or not. It should be the owners. Because I don't think the owners really want their players to come to practice all high and bloodshotted. Eye-shotted, whatever you call it.
But, I mean, they can go drink. It's not like that's out of the question. So what's stopping them from just coming up boozed up before a game? It's the same thing.
Well, they know what they're supposed to do. And that's
exactly.
something that they shouldn't be doing either.
I mean, to go back to that point that Roger Goodell might find it childish, I mean, I think it's a little childish that you don't think that these adults can take care of themselves. But we'll leave that for another day. It's chasing Tom Brady for 3 years over something that might have kind of didn't happen. Anyways, I think we'll leave it there. NFL safety, we're definitely going to keep hearing about it. Concussions will just become even more frightful, and we'll hear more stories and more horror stories about them, and we'll see what the NFL has in store. But I think they're doing some things right, and some things I think they should look to tweak, but it looks like they're moving in a positive direction as a personal change.
And I think the fans understand that as well. But I think in the back mind of fans, including myself, we want to see like the action and like the grit. But we know there has to be a certain level of it, not like an excessive amount.
Yeah, that's what the sport is. It's violent. Jordan, any last thoughts?
I agree. While people do want to see their favorite player, they also want to see big hits, big tackles.
Yeah.
And sometimes people breaking a leg.
Yeah. It's trying to find that balance.
Right.
Well, that's our show. As always, please like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. And the question goes out to you. As the fans, do you think that these changes for the NFL, are they safer? But more importantly, is this making the NFL a more fun league? Thank you. Have a good night.